We know for a fact that Cassandra can be deployed across multiple regions, multiple data centers. So how do I specify the replication factor in that case, right? So here's a situation, right, where you've got two Cassandra rings. You've got two data centers which could be geographically apart, and you can see that there are multiple racks. So naturally, Snitch will try to make sure that a single rack does not have multiple replicas. But if the number of racks is less than the replication factor, then you have no choice, but that the data will be replicated in a single rack, not node, in a single rack. But how do I specify this? How do I say data center 1 has 3 replicas, data center 2 has 2 replicas? This is how you do it. So there is a concept called as key space in Cassandra. It is the equivalent of schema or a user in traditional RDBMS. So when you create a key space, at that particular point in time, you get to specify how many replicas you intend to keep in a data center. So you can clearly see here data center 1, in this case I'm saying you need to have 3 replicas, and in data center 2 you need to have 2 replicas. Okay, so in that case what will end up happening, Cassandra will walk the cluster clockwise in each one of these data centers, and it's going to place the replicas. Well, at least that's what it appears to be. A very interesting point to be kept in mind here, especially when I'm showing this diagram, is how many rings are possible in Cassandra. The answer to that question is actually 1. So although from a human readable perspective, you see that there are multiple rings, but in reality, Cassandra can support only 1 ring. And let me illustrate that. So the picture which I just now showed, right, where you have multiple data centers, ring 1, data center 1 and data center 2. But in reality, this is what the picture is going to look like. I'm going to use blue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And the other one was green. So let me draw it like this. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's what it's going to look like. So if you really see, I can now specify this as data center 1, and the number of replica is 3, and this is data center 2, replica is 2. So what it's going to do, and furthermore, I can say that's my rack 1, that's my rack 2, rack 3 has only 1 node, not a good deployment strategy, but it's okay. And that is my rack 1, that is my rack 2, again rack 3 has a single node. You get that? So what will end up happening? I will choose whenever my data comes in 1, 2, 3, and here it's 2. It's either this or this, or it's this or this, or it's this or this. That Cassandra will decide. Okay. So it's always walking the cluster clockwise. Since we are on this picture, I wanted to talk about one other critical aspect. What about data localization? When you're talking about different domains, a lot of these domains require you to be compliant with the regional laws of data placement. For instance, if you want to work in the healthcare segment, and if you have a US customer, HIPAA law states that all healthcare data that you collect must reside in servers which is physically present in the continent of US. European Union data protection law gave way to GDPR. Same thing. Any data that you collect of citizens of the European Union, right, their data needs to be physically present in servers in the European Union. Full stop. No questions asked. So now imagine, for simplicity, I say that here is my data center 1, here is my data center 2. You do know there is only 1 ring, and perhaps I can add data center 3. right? Let's say this is in North America, this is in Europe, and let's assume this is in India. Can I now have a key space, one, which basically says, listen, North America, 0 replicas. Europe, 0 replicas. India, 3 replica. And you know what the table is? Users. Keyspace1 dot users, the replication strategy is 003. Keyspace2 also has another table called users, same name. When you are from database background, you know this is possible. I can have 2 different users, 2 different schema with exactly the same table name, same structure. Keyspace2 has the replication strategy as North America 3 copies, Europe 0, India zilch. I can also have another Keyspace3, same table, Europe 3, India 0, North America 0. And finally, I can also have a Keyspace4, perhaps another use case where I can store data in Europe and in India. So I can say 3, 3, 0. Folks, if I now do insert into keyspace 3 dot users blah 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 values blah blah blah, what will end up happening? The servers in Europe will contain the data, even though all of them are part of a single cluster, data localization. If I basically choose keyspace 1 dot users, all my Indian users will be stored in those nodes which are physically present in the Indian subcontinent. Logical? So this is an out-of-the-box feature which Cassandra administrators, or rather I would say Cassandra users, modelers can take advantage of. You don't have to build multiple clusters. One key aspect to be noted is, because this is a single cluster, and we talked about every node in this cluster can talk to every other node, doesn't matter what is their geographical presence, which means the networking between these must be amazing, to say the least. If your network is slow, then you are going to have trouble. Furthermore, your application can be here and you can configure your application to talk to these set of nodes. Pointless, right? That this application runs around the world to talk to data center, which is exactly the other side of the planet. Similarly, the application server here can be configured to talk to the local data center. This is called as DC aware round robin. Remember we talked about round robin earlier? So if you just specify round robin, it's going to round robin across the entire cluster, which makes no sense. So what you can say DC aware round robin, and you can say, hey application, I'm going to say your data center is 3. Do a DC 3 aware round robin. So guess what? It's going to round robin only in these nodes and asynchronously shoot the data across to the other regions if your key space allows you to do that. Make sense? Because of this feature, Cassandra is an excellent choice, right, for data localization.